The structure and assumptions inherent in any model that we choose to use will help determine the kinds of solutions that will be found. We already know this. If we choose to fit a linear model, we will get a linear answer. In general, knowledge of the problem structure can be used to affect choices we make in our model that will help to make the model assumptions and structure better aligned to the structure of the problem, and as a result come up with more appropriate or better solutions. This kind of knowledge and understanding of the problem structure can be considered as a set of prior beliefs about the distribution of solutions in a kind of vaguely Bayesian sense. And they're often also called inductive biases. That is to say, the predisposition of the model, given our assumptions and the things that we've configured about it, to come up with particular kinds of solutions. Enforcing these kinds of structural priors biases the model towards finding the kind of solution that we sort of expect is what we want. We think that this will make the solutions better, and we guide the learning in that direction. We direct the model to pay attention to the things we think might be important for finding a solution. This, of course, comes at a cost in terms of constraining the model not to find solutions that we don't expect. So there's a reduction in the generality of the solutions that are being even looked at. A model with more inductive biases is less able to think outside the box and find novel solutions to the problem that we had not anticipated. Obviously, this involves a trade-off, and we might feel that inductive biases are in some sense cheating because they're not allowing the model to learn from the data, they are imposing our beliefs upon it. However, inductive biases come very naturally. In fact, neural network models are in some way inspired by brain structures, and our brains are chock full of inductive biases. They're full of specialized structures that are tailored to solve particular kinds of problems in particular relatively optimized ways. Even when we build models that are in some way general purpose and try to have relatively few prescriptive elements, those are still saturated with everything that we know about the world and everything we know about how to build models and fit them. Model selection and the consequent imposition of modeling assumptions and inductive biases is also, in some sense, inevitable. No model can be the perfect model for every situation. There's literally a mathematical proof of this known as the no free lunch theorem, which proves that on average, over all possible data distributions, no learning algorithm can perform better than chance. This would be really unfortunate for machine learning if we ever actually needed something that would work perfectly in all circumstances, but we never do. We always have a particular task in mind. That's the thing that we need to solve. And so it makes sense to tailor our approach, to tailor our model choices, our choices of hyperparameters and other data modeling assumptions to the problem that we are trying to solve. The fully connected neural networks that we talked about in week 5 are really pretty general. They have certain constraints, which we will get to in the third part of this week's lectures. But apart from that, they're actually extremely general purpose. They can fit a wide range of different kinds of function. But a corollary of this generality is that they can be both quite inefficient in the kinds of solutions that they find because they aren't tailored towards particular problem classes, and also they can be prone to overfitting because all they have is the data to go on, and any kind of combination will do. There's no additional information about the structure of the problem. Way back in week 1, we singled out 2 specific kinds of aggregate data that have particular properties of interest. One of these was images, or more generally digital signals, and the other was sequence data. These two are not completely mutually exclusive kinds of data. You can always view images as sequences, and many times you can view sequences as some kind of digital signal, but they do have somewhat different properties, and they both have inherent structure that can be exploited in finding solutions, which may allow us to find solutions where we couldn't before, or allow us to find solutions more efficiently than with the more general purpose models. In making these sorts of structural choices, we are of course biasing our model. So this can be viewed in the light of the bias variance trade-off that we've discussed before. We're predisposing the model to find particular kinds of solution and not allowing it to vary so much in the kinds that it finds. As discussed before, there are pros and cons to doing this. That's why it's known as a trade-off. But as we'll see today, there can often be significant benefits when trying to solve particular problem classes.